It's the close of another bullish day on Wall Street. This is Mark the Meerkat suffering in for Dez with the weekend report for Friday, September 14, 2012. Well, it was a nice follow-through day on Wall Street. Volume not quite as high as yesterday, but still above average, and the markets move forward. Let's take a look at the numbers after the big announcement yesterday. So, Dow Jones Industrial up 0.4%, S&P up 0.4%. This time the Nasdaq was up 0.89%, and the small cap Russells were up 1%. So who's leading the way? It was this time the small caps and the tech. So that is a very bullish sign. And then look at bank here. It more than tripled the S&P 500 at 1.2%. Big boom there as the financial industries absorb the news of the Fed. Now, this is one thing though. The VIX is up a 3.2%. After its 11% drop yesterday, which I believe was a little bit of an overreaction. I think people are buying some puts in order to protect these big gains that we've had recently. And gold continued its upstroke, but silver pulled back just a little bit. But after yesterday's 4% gain, that would kind of be expected. And the oil was up again. It was trading up above $100 in pre-market today, and then did finish up at 0.9%. And then, of course, the dollar continues to slide here due to the new infusion of capital, the continued unlimited version. So let's take a look here at the S&P 500. Here's the daily chart. Look at that. We continue today. We had a higher low and a higher high. It did pull back. Didn't stay up at the highs of the day. That's the daily chart. Let's take a look at the weekly. Look at that second very bullish week that we've had on the S&P. Now, if we take a look here at these rising wedges we had drawn in, it actually has closed above that on the S&P weekly. Let's take a look at the monthly. Kaboom! Look at that. A major trend line here. It is banging up here above that and then starting to challenge the highs from back in 2007. Very, very strong. So let's go over to the Dow Jones Industrial Daily. Here it is, Dow Jones, kaboom again, higher high, higher low. Here we are, still continuation of yesterday's big upstroke. Take a look at the weekly. Boom, look at that, up above again, this rising wedge. That's a bullish sign, closed above on the weekly chart. Let's take a look at the monthly. This is the monthly, and again, challenging back here to the end of 2007 now. Once again, we might get to that 14,000 that we haven't been at since 2007. Another couple of bars like this, and we'll be there. But again, this is only 2 weeks into the month, folks, so it isn't finished yet. Let's take a look at that NASDAQ daily. Here's the NASDAQ daily. It did cross over and close above this minor trend line, and the more major one up here, it did tag it, pierced it, and pulled back behind it. Still, very bullish day and on higher volume than average. Let's take a look at the weekly. Boom! Look at that weekly. It's 2 huge weeks in a row. It's just closed right at this major trend line on the weekly chart of this rising wedge. If it breaks it, it's very bullish. Take a look at the monthly. Boom! Look at that. Look at that. We have to go back. Oh my, I have to move this back. We have to go back here to year 2000 in order to reach the highs that we are right now. It's pretty incredible on the monthly. So again, only 2 weeks into the month, we haven't closed there, but clearly we are headed in the right direction. Now let's look at the small caps on the daily basis. Here's the small cap Russells on the daily. Boom, look at that. Continued up here. Way over the 864 mark is where it closed. Again, not quite at high of days. Take a look at the weekly. Wow, isn't that sweet? Look at that. Broke right out of this rising wedge and closed way above it. It is definitely strong on the weekly. And the monthly, look at that. We're testing the highs from early 2011 right now. And we have exceeded the highs way back in 2007. So things are on the up and up on the monthly. Again, only 2 weeks into it, so we have to remember that. Let's take a quick look at that at the bank. This is the daily on the bank. Wow, it just continued on stronger than even almost than yesterday. Take a look at the weekly, and you can see how strong it really is. And let's go over to the gold on the weekly chart. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks up in a row. Very, very strong. Again, that's the weekly chart on gold. Take a look at the VIX. It started to spike and when it hit these real lows, and now we're having a bear pullback. That's, again, the VIX is the opposite, so that's a very bullish sign for the markets. And then last we've got the dollar. Again, this is the weekly chart. Look at this, just like a dropping knife here. Again, the more we pour money into the monetary system, the weaker the dollar is going to be abroad. This has advantages, and of course there is a cost to that as well. Now, if your trading is not where you want it to be and you want to get some professional training coming up next weekend, the 22nd through the 24th, that's a Saturday through Monday, is the 3-day immersion training by none other than Grok Trade. If you want to know more about it, then just go to freeonlinetradingeducation.com, our site, and go right here to mentoring. And when you press on that button, it takes you to the mentoring page, which will tell you about it. And actually a little video on it. But more importantly, we need to have a discussion to see if this mentoring is appropriate for your level of development. So just fill in the information here and we'll give you a call and have that discussion. And then down below, we actually have a lot of testimonials of those who have actually been in the training itself. Well, this is Mark the Meerkat Suffron here. Just to remind you of a quote that William Shakespeare said, "Our doubts are traitors, and make us lose the good we oft might win by fearing to attempt." Have a great weekend.